Hi there, it's Jen from Wooden Word Blooms. Today we're going to create a little mason jar arrangement. This is a jelly jar size and it does have some foam via pool noodle in the center. You can do the same thing with any size jar. So you're going to need your flowers, your greenery, and your fillers. So to start off, I like to green my jar first. This particular ruscus is really versatile. You can move the greenery on the stem so that it's more of a bunch at the top. You can also take off individual pieces and stem them with that hole at the bottom. A little hot glue and a piece of floral wire in there will do just fine if you like some ultimate control. And then you can also slide off that triad, so that set of 3, and there's a hole in between those that you can put on a flower that is stemmed or on another wire as well. So 3 ways to use this greenery. For the purposes of today, I'm actually just going to keep it as one bunch that I've pushed up a little bit. Then you have this eucalyptus bunch. Now I'm going to keep mine together. It is paper wrapped and it can be separated, but you can actually pull that paper off and have all those individual pieces. If you don't like a blueberry or a pink berry, you can actually pull those out and you can paint them or you can just toss them aside. The greenery is pretty wild and fun, and it is on very bendy wire. So I'm putting mine right in the center of that pool noodle hole, and I'm going to sort of hold it in place with the other greenery. So I'm just separating it so that it goes leaves, berries, leaves, berries. If you want to just pull that apart, you can just use the greenery and toss the berries aside as well. I also will bend sometimes. If a piece is too tall, I will bend a piece. You could also trim it, but I like to bend it and just create a shorter piece as well. Same thing with the berries. So I'm now coming in with the ruscus. I'm going to do that on either side, and then I'm going to work that eucalyptus throughout the ruscus as well and just sort of move it all around so it feels cohesive and together. And now I'm coming in on the other side and I'm going in diagonally. I am hitting the foam with the stems here. You can trim these stems shorter if they are too tall as well with any pair of wire cutters that you have. And we're just creating a nice bunch of greenery here for this arrangement. If you want less greenery, then by all means, you can actually start with just the flowers and then work in pieces of greenery as well. So this Italian ruscus is one that you could keep by itself and then just work through the arrangement. Or I'm going to actually slide these pieces off. Don't cut them. You want to slide them so that there's still that hole at the bottom, which I can add a little hot glue and I can put a little piece of wire there and then just let it cool so that it has created a new stem. So I'm going to have 3 individual stems of this ruscus to work throughout my arrangement. But in an arrangement as small as this particular one that I'm making, keeping that bunch together, you can actually put it in the center and then work those pieces of greenery out as well. Sometimes you need to add an extra dab of hot glue on top just to make sure that it's secure. And I would say give it about 30 seconds to cool before you work with it, just so that you don't accidentally push the wire out. So I'm putting these kind of in a triangle, 3 sides, creating that lovely floppy movement throughout the piece. This is kind of a wild look that I'm going for. If you wanted to keep this something much smaller and closer and tighter, that is when I would work with maybe a little base of greenery at the bottom, individually stemming some of the ruscus, add my flowers, and then work little pieces of greenery between as well. So just a different look entirely. And if the greenery is too floppy for you, another thing you can do is trim it. So now I've got my greenery base done and I am going to stem my flowers. So one thing to stem your flowers, you may have an end that is really long, in which case I'm using my wire cutters, or you could use scissors to trim those shorter, just so there's not so much extra at the bottom. You want to avoid trimming where there is string, so don't get too close. I'm going to add a dab of hot glue, and I'm going to gently push that wire in. I do a little twist and push, and you only want to go in about 1/4 inch, so you don't necessarily want to go very far. If you go too far, you need to quickly, before the glue cools, twist and pull back out, just so you don't see the wire on the other side of the flower. So once your wires are all stemmed, it only takes maybe 15 seconds or so for those to cool. Then you are ready to create your arrangement. I like to stem on my flowers first, but you can also stem as you go. That way you can cut the pieces to the length that you need. So I'm going to always start with my big flowers. Those are much harder to squeeze in later. So working with your larger flowers first, and then trimming the wires if you need to the length desired. The foam is towards the bottom, so you'll need your wires a little bit longer, just long enough that they poke into them. And sometimes they won't poke into one, and that's okay. Much like a real fresh flower arrangement, they're just sort of nestled in there. And if it moves, you can just move it again. So I'm going in with those 3 larger flowers, and you might have more. That's okay as well. One thing you want to do is think about creating levels. If you have a lot of flowers, I like to work in triangles and odd numbers. So if I have 3 blues, I'm kind of creating that triangular shape with my flowers. Now, I've only got 3 big ones, so they're sort of the main part of my arrangement. And now I'm going in with these little white flowers. And I'm going in between at varying heights. So some are lower, some are higher, matching and working with the greenery. I like to create a little bit of asymmetry in mind, so I'm not looking to make it perfect by any means as far as even placement. I think I used 4 of the flowers. Again, you may have more or less flowers in your arrangement depending on what you like to do. This is where it's fun. You can pull these in and out as much as you want and create the look you're going for. So don't feel like there's one set design, because there absolutely is not. It's fun to see how everybody's can look a little bit different. Now, one thing I'm going to do next is take these fillers, and I have a bunch of different kinds of fillers, and who knows what you have in your arrangement. Sometimes there's like a really long piece of filler, and honestly, in a mason jar this short, I don't even need to wire this. I'm not worried about it going into the foam. I'm going to maybe just trim a little bit because it actually feels too tall to me, and I am going to place it in the arrangement between the flowers, between the greenery, and not worry about even adding glue. It's honestly not going to go anywhere, maybe if you tip your flower arrangement upside down. So I'm breaking those pieces off. You can cut them off with wire cutters, with scissors, and I'm actually going to save them, and you'll see later how I use those to add a little extra greenery to my arrangement. Now, the next pieces I have, you can see down there, those little fatter lavender pieces. Those have little holes on the bottom, and I'm actually, much like the flowers, just going to add a dab of hot glue, and then I'm going to stem them and put them in the arrangement. So that hole at the bottom, little piece of glue, little piece of wire, and then you're good to go. So here we go, adding these in. This part can be a little tedious. Feel free to fast forward through this section. And, oh, one tip here. So this one, again, this is a little bit of a different piece. I added the hot glue, stemmed in the middle, and I'm actually taking an extra piece of greenery that I had trimmed off of my other greenery. It just felt too floppy. I didn't like where it was. So I'm putting a little hot glue there right in the center, and I'm nestling it between the 2 little pieces of lavender. And, of course, because I'm touching it so much, I'm messing the hot glue up. I'm going to set it aside. You'll see, it'll be fine later. So now we're just gonna add these pieces in, and I just love to go wherever I feel like there's a spot that could use a little pop of color. And you notice I keep rotating my arrangement. That's really important to check it out from all sides. Now, if you know your arrangement is going to go against a wall, you can create something called a flat back. And that's a great way to have more of a flat back and then more on the sides and in the front. And it will go against your wall easier, and you won't waste any flowers in the back. So now I'm taking those little bits that I cut off from that other greenery earlier, and I'm just gluing them right into the arrangement. They're just kind of sticking onto one of the other leaves. Now I'm taking some of my preserved baby's breath. You can use dried, you can use something fun from your garden, and I like to break this into pieces. Now I'm not worried about getting this in the foam. There is so much going on in this arrangement. These pieces are going to hold. I work them in between pieces of greenery and flowers, and they just nestle right in there, adding that pop of ivory throughout. So just break it into pieces. Now you could even break it into smaller pieces and add a dab of hot glue if you're afraid that maybe it's going to fall where it is, and let it catch onto a leaf. I said that weird. A leaf, so that it has something to hold onto as well. So once you get all of the baby's breath in, keep turning and looking. I like to zhuzh. Sometimes I'm not happy with my first placement. Then you've got a beautiful arrangement. So I decided I didn't like this one. I pulled it back out, and I'm breaking it into 2 smaller pieces so that I can kind of get it where I want, because it wasn't going into that perfect spot originally. And then you'll see once I've got that done, this is it. It's that easy to make a cute wood flower mason jar of any size. And there you have it. Have fun creating, and reach out anytime via the comments or email if you have questions.